So, something huge is happening in India's energy sector right now. We're talking about one of the biggest policy shakeups in decades. A new law is on the table that's about to end a 60-year-old tradition and could completely rewrite the country's nuclear future. Let's dive in and break it all down.
And really, that's the big question here, isn't it? For more than 60 years, India's entire nuclear power industry has played by one very specific, very tight rule. But now that rule is about to be broken, and the ripple effects, well, they're going to be massive.
All right, so for as long as most of us have been alive, nuclear power in India has basically been a closed shop. It's been run entirely and exclusively by the state. So in this first part, we're going to look at that old system to really understand why changing it now is such a huge deal.
And this is the law that started it all, the Atomic Energy Act of 1962. You can think of it as a law that put a giant lock on the entire nuclear industry. It basically said that only one entity, the government's own Nuclear Power Corporation of India, or NPCIL, could have the keys. They were the only ones allowed to build, own, and operate every single nuclear plant in the country.
Okay, and this slide really just lays it all out, clear as day. The difference is night and day. On the left, you've got the old way, a total state monopoly, super restrictive, everything controlled by one player. And on the right, you have the new way under the SHANTI bill, throwing the doors open to the private sector and creating a whole new modern system. It is a complete 180 from a policy that's been in place for 6 decades.
So if that old 1962 act was the lock, then this SHANTI bill is the brand new key that's designed to finally open it. Let's get into the details of what this new key is all about and what doors it's actually meant to unlock.
And here it is, the full name alone, Sustainable Harnessing and Advancement of Nuclear Energy for Transforming India, or SHANTI for short, tells you how ambitious this is. But its main purpose is actually incredibly simple. Get rid of that old 1962 law and, for the very first time, let private companies get into the nuclear power game.
So, what does this bill actually do? Well, first, and this is the big one, it lets private companies build and run their own nuclear plants. Second, it tackles a huge headache for investors by putting a cap on liability, which makes it way less risky to put money in. Third, it gives the main regulator, the AERB, statutory independence, giving it real teeth for safety and oversight. And finally, it pushes for nuclear tech to be used beyond just electricity in areas like medicine and pharma.
But hold on, it's not a complete free-for-all, and this is a really important point. The government is trying to strike a balance here. While private companies can run the power plants themselves, all the really sensitive stuff, we're talking uranium enrichment, fuel management, that is all staying firmly and exclusively in government hands.
So you have to be asking, why now? Why make such a historic change after 60 years? Well, the answer comes down to an ambition so massive you could really only call it India's clean energy moonshot.
To really get a grip on how huge this goal is, you need to know this one number. Right now, today, India's total nuclear power capacity is about 8 gigawatts. Okay? Just 8. Keep that number in your head.
Now look at this. The government's target for the year 2047 is 100 gigawatts. You heard that right. That's not just a small increase, it's a jump of more than 12 times from where we are right now. This chart just shows you how absolutely staggering that ambition is.
So why aim so high? Well, there are some pretty solid strategic reasons. You see, solar and wind are fantastic, but they don't work 24/7. Nuclear provides what's called baseload power. It's the power that's always on. Plus, India's demand for electricity is just skyrocketing, and it has a huge climate promise to keep, getting to net zero emissions by 2070. The government believes the only way to do all this is to bring in trillions of dollars in private investment to build new nuclear plants, and fast.
But you don't just overturn 60 years of policy without a fight. A change this big was never going to be smooth sailing, and the path to getting this bill passed was, let's just say, filled with drama and some pretty sharp disagreements.
Yeah, this wasn't some quiet, orderly process. The bill actually got passed by a voice vote, but only after the opposition parties literally got up and walked out of the chamber in protest. That one scene tells you everything you need to know about how divided the opinions are on this.
So in one corner, you've got the supporters. People like Lok Sabha, who see this as an absolute game changer. For them, this bill is the key to finally getting a 24-hour power supply for the whole country and driving the kind of massive growth a modern economy needs.
But in the other corner, you have some very serious concerns. Congress MP Shashi Tharoor, for example, argued that the bill is full of loopholes and just isn't tough enough on the most critical issue of all, nuclear safety. He's basically saying, hey, we're rushing this and we're not being careful enough.
And then there's this point, which really hits home for a lot of people. Another opposition member, Arun Nehru, pointed out the dark irony of calling the bill SHANTI, which means peace. He brought up the history of global nuclear disasters like Fukushima and Chernobyl, a powerful reminder of the risks involved.
So, when you put all of this together, the history, the huge ambition, the heated debate, you realize that India is standing at a major crossroads. The decisions made in the next few days and weeks will shape its energy future for decades to come.
So, what happens right now? Where does it go from here? Well, the bill has cleared the first hurdle. It's passed the lower house of parliament, the Lok Sabha. Now it's headed to the upper house, the Rajya Sabha, for the final round of debate and approval. This is the last legislative step.
And that leaves us right here with the ultimate question. Is the Shanti Bill a bold, necessary leap toward a clean and powerful energy future? Or is it a massive, risky gamble with safety and public trust? Honestly, there are no easy answers. But one thing is absolutely certain. The script for India's nuclear story is being completely rewritten right now.